Hello, everyone, and welcome back to yet another episode of Red Cape Sports. My name is Bird Bouchard, and along with me is the hockey card guru. If you guys have been around Red Cape Sports, you know exactly who this is. They call him Al's brother, but here at Red Cape Sports, we just call him the hockey card guru, aka Mike DiStefano. Mike, how are you, man?
Doing well. I am a man of many names. I rarely ever get called by my given name, my birth name. Even here at home, I'm never actually called by like Mike or Michael. I've had a family name forever, so I'm a man of many names.
Certainly. And with being a man of many names also comes a man of knowing many NHL players to invest in. For those of you who don't know, Mike was the guy who literally, informed everyone of a certain guy named Denis Gurianov that you could pick up, and literally, what was it, like 10 hours later, I think he scored 4 goals in a 5-point night, which is absolutely amazing. So we're going to look to build off that momentum here today. This has been a video that's maybe not specifically this video, but hockey has been a highly requested video. So we're going to jump into some hockey today. And Mike, the NHL rookie entry draft just happened. So that's exactly what we're going to focus on, at least in this video. Are there any rookies who you're looking forward to? Obviously, their young guns won't be out anytime soon, but are there any rookies that you kind of have on your radar now?
Totally. I think that there's a few guys in here. I know that, we both put together a list of 5 guys in the draft who, not this year, but in the coming years, just kind of keep an eye out for. And you want me to rattle off all 5 of them and just get right through it? Or you want to go one and one?
Yeah. Let's go 1 and 1.
All right. So the first one, I have a feeling that we're both kind of the same one here. And that's the number 1 overall pick, Alexi Laferniere, right? Lafreniere, first overall pick. The kid's going to be an absolute phenom. He's following in the footsteps of pretty much everything that Sidney Crosby has done, except he's done it from the wing position, not the center position, which somewhat matters. But when you're playing in the Big Apple, New York City, it doesn't matter as much, right? That's a big market. And his rookie card, whether it's this year in Series 1 or Series 2, there's still some question marks. They say it's going to be in Series 1, but then you got others who are like, but they have to legally play an NHL game in order for it to be in the Series 1, and it's supposed to come out in November, and there's so much confusion and conversation about when it's going to come out, but it will be out, and it's going to be a card that will be highly sought after. I could see this thing on opening day coming and being a $100 card easy, but that's $100 well spent in my opinion. So Alexi Lefraniere is the first one, and his first overall pick, and he's someone who you should definitely be keeping an eye on from this past draft.
Yeah, surprisingly, I do not have him on my list, and I just didn't have him on my list because I've spoken about Alexi since basically the guy came out of the womb. I mean, he's literally following in the next Sidney Crosby footsteps. Interesting enough that you mentioned whether or not he's going to be in Series 1 or Series 2. Personally, I feel like that's such a quick turnaround time. I mean, he was literally just drafted like last week. Can they have it ready for November 4th? We'll see. It just seems like it's going to shock the world.
It could very well be, and I've heard the rumors that it could just be a redemption. In which case, it just says, number 1 overall pick, or rookie number 1, and then that would just be Lafreniere eventually when they get his card printed and out there. So, which sucks because redemptions take way too long to come in.
Yeah, definitely true. Fingers crossed that it ends up working out in the best way, regardless. Now, my first option, as I hope my audio didn't cut out there.
Nope.
Okay, perfect. So I got Tim Stutzel. He ended up getting drafted 3rd overall to the Ottawa Senators. And I get it. The Ottawa Senators are not a good team, and they're likely not going to be a good team for quite some time. But this is a player who I really like. There's a lot of comparisons to a guy that goes by the name of Patrick Kane. And he put up, and this is honestly one of my favorite stats, just filtering through these guys. Mike, he put up 132 shots as an 18-year-old in just 41 games. So this is a guy who's not afraid to shoot the biscuit, as they call it. And at the end of the day, that's what we want in this hobby. That's what's trending upwards for price. Guys who put the puck on net and guys who find the back of the net. I feel like, sure, he's a winger, but at the end of the day, I don't know what his card prices are going to come out at. It's certainly not going to be near the $100 mark like Alexi Laferniere, but
no,
I like him. I can't lie. I definitely liked him, Stutzel, as a pretty good investment opportunity.
I like him as well, and I have him at number 2 on my list for a lot of the same reasons that you just mentioned. I think also the fact that Ottawa, surprisingly, is an up-and-coming team. They may be a pretty good squad over the next decade or so. It really does seem like they have finally turned a corner and are starting to build the right way, and I think that he is going to be a main piece going forward. He can play center, and we'll see if that ends up happening in Ottawa, but I think he's more suited to play the wing, but we'll see what they end up doing with him. There's plenty of players who've been drafted as maybes and are able to play center ice position. If it is, I think that only helps his cause, but Stutzel, he's going to be an unbelievable player. I really do believe so, so he's also number 2 on my list.
Right.
Yeah. So who's number 2 for you?
Alrighty. So number 2 for me is a guy who got drafted 9th overall, and a guy who I'm hoping can pair up with a lot of goals from another guy that we've mentioned, Kevin Fiala over in Minnesota. So I'm talking about Marco Rossi. So Marco Rossi, centerman, drafted 9th overall to Minnesota. And this guy actually led the CHL with 120 points. And more importantly, what I find quite remarkable, to be honest, and I get it, the CHL is a league. Maybe it's not the top league, but it's still a great league. But 34 different multi-point games. And I mean, maybe Minnesota is not the greatest market, but again, these guys who are getting drafted high, other than maybe Alexi Laferniere, aren't typically speaking going to go to large markets for the most part. But I think Marco Rossi is an incredible talent, and I think we're going to see him be a pretty good player for years to come. I just hope that Minnesota builds around him, and if they can, watch out for Marco Rossi.
Yeah, I think he's a really terrific player. I agree. It's a really good one. For me, I went a little bit higher in the draft than you. I haven't quite skipped all the way down to like the bottom of the top 10 yet, because I think that Lucas Raymond, drafted by the Detroit Red Wings, is going to be a phenom. 4th overall pick, which some people said was a little high. I didn't think so. I actually ended up making some money because I bet that he was going to go above 5.5. I thought Otto was going to take him at 5, but Detroit swooped in, took him in at 4. That's a good landing spot for him. I really do believe that he's going to be a stud. You take a look at what he's been doing. He's already been playing with men since last season. He played in the SHL in his draft year. 10 points in 33 games. But when you're playing against men, you're not really expected to be a stud when you're 18 years old, especially in the Swedish league. But he had 4 goals in 33 games last year. Bird, he's got 3 goals in just 6 games already this year. So you can already see that growth that he's had from last season to this season. And I can just assume that growth is going to keep going. And by the time he hits the NHL in a year or two, that card, man, he's going to be a stud. And that is going to be one worth getting. Plus Detroit, original 6 market. So yep. Lucas Raymond, another one to keep an eye for.
Yeah, that was another guy who I also had on my list. Not on my official list, at least on my radar. And I figured, you know what, I think Mike's gonna mention Lucas. So, for that specific reason, I took him out. And I will say this: Detroit, while they suck now, they're not gonna suck forever. So, no. Lucas Raymond, decent pick. All right, so my 3rd pick. Honestly, I was like, who is this guy for quite some time. And a very good friend of mine, so shout out to you, Garrett Fedor, was like, man, Cole Perfetti. This Perfetti kid's going to be so good. I want the Leafs to draft him. And of course, the Leafs didn't draft him. But in my opinion, he went to a pretty good landing spot in a team that needs a center in the Winnipeg Jets. That's a Canadian team, maybe not an original 6, but again, the Great White North, as they call it. I like it. You know, he had 111 OHL points as an 18-year-old in just 61 games. He was first in it, and get this, it doesn't matter if I like him, you know, but he was voted first overall in several different OHL polls, coaches polls. More specifically, he was voted the smartest player, he was voted the best playmaker, he was voted the best stick handler, and the best shootout guy. So Cole Perfetti, again, we have no idea when his young gun's going to come out. We have no idea what price it's going to be at. But I would even advise, I mean, if this card's going to be out of the gate under $40, $45, you might want to consider picking it up.
Yeah, I love Perfetti. I really did throughout the entire draft process. I even had him higher than the 10th overall prospect, and that was an absolute steal by Winnipeg and a great landing spot, you know, to be a number 2, learn behind Mark Scheifele. That kid's going to be an absolute stud. For my 4th one, I went to pick number 11. And this one, we talked about this pick because it surprised you, but it's the goaltender. Yaroslav Azkarov went 11th overall to the Nashville Predators. You thought this was a little bit high of a pick, but listen, this guy's going to be an absolute phenom. Nashville's got a pretty good squad. It's not the best market, but I think what we've noticed over the past couple of seasons with Carter Hart, Igor Shesterkin, Elvis Merzlikins, young goaltenders, there's a marketplace for it. Ilya Samsonov, another player. There is definitely a marketplace for these young up-and-coming goalies. And Askarov is expected to be the best goaltending prospect since Carey Price. And this guy is playing out of his mind. He's got through 3 games. It's his first full season in the KHL, it looks like. And for the first 3 games, got a .94 goals against. .9. He's like 18 years old. And he's got a .94 in the highest men's league, arguably the second best top tier hockey league in the world. Right? And this guy's just stopping pucks like it's his day job. Technically it is. But like this guy literally is going to be a phenom, and whatever his price point is when it comes out, it's going to be high. But there's a growing market for young goaltenders in this hobby, and I think that Askarov is going to be that next new young stud goaltender to keep an eye on.
All right, no, I definitely agree. And for the record, the only reason why I thought he went a bit high is, typically speaking, goaltenders don't get picked so high. And I was just
typically speaking, you don't have stud goalies like this kid hanging around.
Correct.
It's like in the NFL. You only take a running back high if you think that he's going to be a game
like Zeke. Right,
exactly.
Right. Just like Zeke Elliott. So with that being said, certainly a good pick. My 4th pick, I like it. You know, I'm maybe not quite sure what you'll have to think about it. Have some more conviction,
Berg. Come on.
But Tyson Forster, who ended going 23rd overall, he's a right winger, and he went to the Philadelphia Flyers. And I thought, okay, this is interesting. He's not a centerman, you know, he is a winger, but what is Philly truly lacking? And what I came up with is they're lacking a true bred goal scorer. And I think Tyson Forster is going to be that option for them. There's a lot of comparisons already to a guy like Claude Giroux. And Claude Giroux had a pretty decent career, but regardless, you know, it's just one of those markets where I feel like they do love their hockey. Broad Street Bullies, but like I said, if he can become that number 1 goal scorer, I feel like right off the gate he can see some potential power play minutes. And like I said, they need the goal scorer. If he can pop in 20 in his rookie season and eventually work his way up to be a 30, 35, maybe even 40 goal scorer guy, watch out for Forster.
Yeah, that's another good pick off the board and a little bit lower, but honestly, it's got potential. We'll see. He's probably a few years out from making an impact. A lot of these guys are a couple of seasons out. Like I think outside of like Lafreniere,
Byfield,
Stutzel, Byfield as well. There might not be many other guys who end up playing in the NHL this season, whenever that season occurs.
Yeah.
My final one here, my 5th and final prospect, is Rodion Amirov, went 15th overall to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Need I say more? He went to the Toronto Maple Leafs, the largest hockey market in the world. You get a guy who you believe to be a top 6 player, which means he's going to have a chance to play with one of either Austin Matthews or John Tavares. And if that means he's playing with one of those, he'll also have a line mate in either Mitch Marner or William Nylander. So I really do believe that Rodion Amirov is going to be a really good player in the NHL. I thought it was a good pick by the Leafs. And for those reasons, I feel like his card is going to be very highly sought after. You know, supply and demand. There's a large demand for Maple Leafs rookies. Like, you take a look at this season, you know, Rasmus Sandin was a very highly sought after card, a rookie for the Maple Leafs, and his card was selling for about $15. When realistically, if he was drafted to, let's say, I don't know, the Florida Panthers, that's probably a $2-3 card. You know what I mean? So the market means a lot in hockey, in the hockey card game, and the Toronto Maple Leafs biggest market there is. Their first round pick is certainly somebody to keep an eye on.
Yeah, for sure. And like you mentioned too, I think you're spot on in saying that he could potentially be a top 6 forward. So great analysis right there. All right, so I guess that leads us to our last pick, and my fifth option or pick here with Seth Jarvis. He ended up going 13th overall to Carolina Hurricanes. And in my opinion, you know, I've been on the record multiple times saying Carolina Hurricanes are a young up-and-coming team. I like the way that they play hockey, and I mean, this is a centerman. Carolina, you could argue that maybe they didn't necessarily need a centerman, but I'm sure they can shift them off to a wing or anything like that. Second overall in WHL points with 98 points. Again, there's a lot of young up-and-coming talent on that team. You got Svechnikov, you got Aho, you got Teravainen. So you got everyone. And I mean, I feel like Jarvis is only going to benefit in this young Carolina Hurricanes market. And more specifically, I'm banking on the fact that when he's ready, when he's truly NHL ready, that's when Carolina Hurricanes are just going to be a perennial powerhouse in the NHL.
Couldn't agree with you more, man. I think he's probably suited to be a winger in the NHL at the next level. But you know, that's fine because they've got a couple of real stud centermen in Sebastian Aho and Martin Nakash that they're going to need to fill out the wings a little bit. They obviously have Svechnikov and some other guys, but I think he could be a really good player too. I like him, and they got him with that Leafs pick at 13th overall as well. So maybe there's a little bit of stink there with it, but I like Seth Jarvis. That's a good one.
All right, guys. So there you have it. You know, it seems like almost 10 different picks between the both of us. So
I think only Stutzel,
maybe 9. Yeah. So
Stutzel
9
was the only guy we had the same.
All right, guys. But anyway, there you have it. Again, be on the lookout for these guys. By no way, in any way, shape, or form, are we saying go out and buy these cards. We're just saying be out on the lookout for them when they do come out.
Also, I do want to add that technically, if you do want to go out and get yourself some of these cards from an earlier date, you know, I know that, you know, for myself, a lot of the ones that I picked are from Europe, but a guy like Lafreniere, a guy like Seth Jarvis, Tyson Forster, like these are players that technically are in the CHL hockey card brand that you can go out and you can get at your local hobby shops or your Walmart or whatever. If you do want to try and pick them up, you can also look for them on eBay as well. If there's somebody you're looking to PC, that is, or somebody who you're hoping to get now, and then hopefully when they become studs in the NHL, those cards also see an uptick. But you can technically get those cards now in other capacities, just not in the NHL, in their junior ranks.
Yeah, definitely. That is true. I know that I own several Alexi Laferniere Team Canada cards. So anyways, guys, we hope that you enjoyed this one. We're going to get ready for another episode. So be sure to stay tuned.